Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to a very special edition of the FPL Scope. Today I'm going to select my zombie team for the season, and if you don't know, a zombie team is when you select a team for Game Week 1 and then you don't do any changes throughout the whole season, from Game Week 1 until Game Week 38. No transfers, no captaincy changes, no chips used, no nothing. So this is a pretty fun thing to try to do. I know a lot of people do zombie teams or zombie leagues even, where they are not allowed to change their team. This could also be really helpful for any of you who forget about FPL sort of like 3 or 4 game weeks into the season. You should probably fixture-proof it for the future game weeks as well. So maybe your team will perform really well even though you don't pay attention to it. So this is a really good video for you as well. And I think also in general, FPL players in total will also find this interesting because I'll list basically what I think is the best value players this season. Because you need players that will be valuable across the whole season, and that's what I'm trying to select today. So I actually made a video yesterday on this, but I had to change it for a couple of reasons. And yeah, that video was kind of different. I kind of had I was in a funny mood, so I did like a spooky vibe with different lighting, and I kind of spoke slowly and eerily like this throughout most of the video. But today, feeling a bit more professional, I guess, and yeah. But anyways, if you'd like to see that style of video, I have good news for you, because I'm probably going to do it, because I'm going to do this as a series throughout the season, keep up with the zombie team, see how it does every Tuesday. And this year, Halloween falls on a Tuesday, so the Halloween edition of this series will probably be kind of like the spooky sort of thing that I did yesterday. Try to have like some spooky, I might actually add the spooky music here. Let's see. Did the spooky music come? Maybe, I don't know. I'll decide that when I edit this video. But either way, probably going to do like a different type of edition when I do it on Halloween. But let's get into the video. There are some rules we have to talk about first before we select the team. And number one is something that was very apparent when some news came yesterday. You should avoid too many injury-prone and potentially transferred players, because that's what made my zombie team from yesterday change a bit for today. Because we got 2 pieces of news, and one of them is that Dean Henderson is still in contention to go to Nottingham Forest, so Matt Turner doesn't look like the goalkeeper that he could have been as a 4.0 starter for Nottingham Forest, potentially, because if Henderson comes to Nottingham Forest, Matt Turner is not going to be the starting goalkeeper anywhere, really. Whether he goes to Nottingham Forest, he'll be on the bench behind Henderson, or if he stays with Arsenal, he'll be on the bench behind, well, 2 players, because they're going to have both Ramsdale and Raya probably. But yeah, so I'm avoiding Matt Turner. I'm also avoiding Christopher Nkunku, who we got news yesterday that his injury is more scary than like we originally thought. He's going to be out for months rather than weeks, so obviously I had to switch him out of my zombie team, because you can't really have players that don't provide that much value throughout the season. So yeah, those 2 changes I had to do because of the injury-prone or potentially transferred players. So you got to keep that in mind for the future of the season as well. If you have too many players who might not play towards the end of the season, then this team is going to severely suffer towards the end of the season when a lot of other players will get points. Speaking of the end of the season and the players not playing and stuff, you got to have a strong bench, because towards the end of the season, you will get injuries throughout the season, and you will also get blank game weeks throughout the season. And therefore, you need a strong bench for whenever you don't have a fully fit starting 11. So you can't go with like the 4.5, 4.0 midfielders and defenders. So you have to keep that in mind when you build the rest of the team as well. So you can't go with, I really wanted to have Salah in this team, but obviously since I need to have a strong bench compared to my regular Game Week 1 team, I couldn't have Salah in my team. So that's something you got to keep in mind when you build your zombie squad. And finally, the last rule is to fixture-proof potential blank game weeks. So we know that the blank game weeks this season will be Game Week 26, Game Week 29, and Game Week 34. There might be some other potential blank game weeks as well, because you never know with injury or with COVID and stuff. Maybe that comes back up. We had the Queen's Death last season, which made another blank game week happen and double game weeks happen and stuff. So you never really know what's going to happen, and you need to at least try to fixture-proof the potential game weeks that you do know are going to happen, and that is Game Week 26, Game Week 29, and Game Week 34, and that's something that I've taken into account with this team. So I've selected bench players with decent fixtures in these game weeks mostly. So with the rules out of the way, let's go into the team and check out my starting goalkeeper. And my starting goalkeeper is Andre Onana, who is playing for Man United, who kept the most clean sheets last season with David De Gea in goal. And I think with Onana, and especially in the second season of Erik ten Hag, I think Man United will improve and potentially get even more clean sheets this season. So maybe they'll push around 20 clean sheets that could potentially happen. I think they're going to be within that 14 to 22-ish clean sheet range this season. And I also think Onana has more bonus potential than David De Gea because he's much better with his feet. De Gea was, as we all know, not that good at distribution, but Onana is the best distributing goalkeeper in the whole world. So he's going to get more than 30 passes in many games, and that will provide a lot of bonus system points and potentially bonus points along the way. And I also think Onana could potentially get some assists because I know it doesn't have like a history of getting that many assists and stuff, but with Rashford and Højlund up front, there's going to be chances to pass it straight over the whole team and score a goal from an Onana assist. So keep your eye on that because an assist from Onana could mean like a 12-pointer or more as a goalkeeper, which is fantastic. So yeah, I think Onana is the best value goalkeeper throughout the season, but it is not that big of a difference between him and Johnston, who's the backup goalkeeper. Because like I said, we need a good backup, and Johnston has really good fixtures in game 26, 29, and 34. I think he has 3 home games against pretty easy opposition. So if Onana manages to, or if Man United blank in those game weeks, then Johnston will be ready to step in and be a really good goalkeeper for those game weeks. So he's a really nice insurance policy in case Onana has some blank game weeks. And also, Crystal Palace were really good defensively last season. They were 4th in expected goals conceded. I know a lot of people have brought up this stat, and it is kind of misleading because from 4th to 12th, there's like only like 4 expected goals conceded in total, which is not that much. It's kind of like a top 3 of Arsenal, Newcastle, and Man City. Interestingly enough, Man United were actually below Crystal Palace when it comes to expected goals conceded last season because yeah, they obviously lost 9-0 and well, not 9-0, but they lost 7-0 against Liverpool, and they lost 4-0 against Brentford and stuff. So they did concede some huge chances in some pretty big games, but across the season they got a lot of clean sheets. But anyway, Palace are still a good defensive team, and we know this from the history of Hodgson as well. He's been pretty good defensively for Crystal Palace, and also Johnston in goal rather than Guaita for the whole season is going to help them with clean sheets. So Johnston was among the top scoring goalkeepers in general after he came in last season. We all know, at least you guys that started him in that free hit Game Week 32 team last season, that he got 10 points. He was on my bench because I started with Emi Martinez, who subbed off at the half and got 1 point. But either way, Johnston has proven in the past that he's a good fantasy goalkeeper, and Crystal Palace have proven in the past that they are a good defensive team. So yeah, they also have good fixtures in the blank game weeks, like I said. So yeah, Johnston is a good backup goalkeeper to Onana. In defense, we have Ben Chilwell, who's going to be super attacking. He's basically playing as a winger for Chelsea, and yeah, he's going to do that as long as he's fit to play. That's the only worry about Chilwell, that he might get injured. So he is one of those injury-prone players that you should avoid having too many of, but he's one of very few in this team, so that's why he's included, because when he plays, he's going to get a lot of points. And Chelsea have a lot of good history with the zombie teams, because I've done like zombie team, I did a video a week or 2 ago on the best zombie teams of the past 6 seasons, and pretty much every single season you have a Chelsea fullback, whether that's Alonso a couple of seasons, Azpilicueta had it 1 season, Ben Chilwell even was in there 1 season, I think potentially Reece James was in 1 season as well. So Chelsea fullbacks usually are really good value whenever they play, and yeah, I think Chilwell is going to be that this season as well. And obviously he's had a pretty long run now without an injury, so hopefully he can stay fit for the whole season and be a fantastic player to this zombie team. He's also taking a lot of set pieces for Chelsea this season, and that's going to be, it's not going to be reduced, especially with Nkunku out as well. So yeah, Chilwell seems like a great value pick. He is in my Game Week 1 squad as well for my regular team, and yeah, I think he's great value across the season, especially when he plays. And whenever he doesn't play, we have a really strong defensive line in general that we'll go into now. Secondly, we have Josko Gvardiol, and I have no doubts about him starting a lot of matches for Man City. I've looked at the stats from previous Man City fullback or centre backs when they've been brought in by Guardiola, and usually they start quite a lot of matches straight away. Like Ruben Dias played 20 out of 20 in his first season with Man City. Laporte, he was kind of like in and out of the team in like the first half season because he was brought in January, but the following season he started every single game as well. So I think Guardiola, especially with the price that he's brought in at, is going to start pretty much every single game, or not pretty much every single game, but at least like 30 starts, about that number, I think, this season he's going to get for City. And yeah, that's going to be fantastic because he has some attacking potential as well, because he is really good with the ball at his feet. That's why Pep likes him so much. Nathan Ake is out for Game Week 1, by the way, so I think Guardiola might have a chance of starting Game Week 1 as well, but it's not that big of an issue if it doesn't play Game Week 1 because we have a really good bench in this team. But yeah, I think he could also improve. He's only 21 years old. which is kind of amazing to think about because he's a pretty experienced player already, so he doesn't really need time to settle in. Because, like I said, Pep's defenders don't really need that much time to settle in. We know that players like Grealish and stuff, those guys need like a season or two to properly get going, but defenders, that's not really the case for Pep Guardiola. So I think Guardiola is going to start many games and be a fantastic value pick this season. Next up, we have Gabriel Magalhaes for Arsenal, and he is a certified beast, as I've written here on screen. He is a great defender, and he's going to play pretty much every single game for Arsenal because he's a left centre-back, and the only other left centre-back that they have is Kivior, basically. It seems also like Timber is going to play mostly at the full-back positions, whether that's as a left-back covering for Zinchenko or as a right-back covering for Ben White. So yeah, I think Gabriel is going to play most matches. Arsenal as well. They already brought in Declan Rice, they brought in Jurgen Timber, as I mentioned, and they also brought in, or they're going to bring in probably David Raya in goal, and all those guys will improve their defense even more. So I think there are potentially more clean sheets this season. Gabriel as well always has really good underlying numbers when it comes to goals, expected goals per season. And he has sort of been underperforming in this regard, so I think he could get even more goals this season and have even more value than he's had the last couple seasons, because he is usually 5.0 as a defender. But that is for good reason, because he has really good value at 5.0 as well, and he is one of the best, if not the best, goal threats from set pieces among centre-backs in the league. So yeah, Gabriel is nailed in pretty much every single team that I've seen in Game Week 1, and he's also nailed in this zombie team as well. Moving on, we have another player who is really popular this season, and that is Pervis Estupiñán. He probably should have been priced at 5.5, but he is priced at 5.0, and he plays for Brighton, who are super attacking. He could get goals, he could get assists, he could get clean sheets, all at the same time as well. He can get those 21 pointers and stuff that we rarely see from defenders. So his ceiling is just so high. And the thing with Brighton as well is that their ceiling is really high as well. They could be really good defensively, they could be really good offensively. They have such an exciting squad and exciting manager that they could push on to be like a top 4 team. That's not without or outside the realm of possibilities, I should say. And we are talking outside the realm here with the zombie squad. But either way, I think Estupiñán is a no-brainer. Again, no-brainer. Sorry about the zombie puns, but yeah, in both this team and in your Game 1 squad. So yeah, get Estupiñán into your team, whether that's a zombie team or your Game 1 squad in general. Next up, we have another player I think should be in more Game Week 1 squads, to be honest, and that is Destiny Udogie. He's priced at 4.5, which is kind of insane, because last season, Ivan Perisic was like the main guy to have in defense from Spurs, and he was priced at 5.5. And Destiny, sure, he doesn't have the same attacking numbers that Perisic had with Inter, but he has really good attacking numbers, and he plays for a more attacking manager than Conte, and he is more nailed. He doesn't have to be like rested and stuff like Perisic had to. So I think he is probably as valuable as Perisic was at the start of last season, and he's 1 million less. So I think he's going to go up in price. He's going to rise again, and yeah, be way more expensive towards the end of the season. I think he's going to be sort of this year's Trippier, both him and Estupiñán, but Estupiñán is highly owned. But Udogie will get much higher ownership and a much higher price as the season goes along. So I think Udogie should be someone you consider for your team, whether that's a zombie team or not as well. Then midfielder number 1 is Marcus Rashford. I think he is the best attacking asset for Man United, and that's why he is in the team rather than Bruno Fernandes. He has proven that last season, that he is going to get the most chances, the most pretty good when it comes to expected goal index in general. So yeah, I think he's the best attacker for Man United. He didn't just have a purple patch last season. I know a lot of people say that, but he's just a fantastic player. He's probably going to get another purple patch this season where he scores pretty much every single game week. So I think he is a really valuable player to have. And like I said, Man United could improve even more. I think Rashford is in for a 20 plus goal season. I think Man United might be in for a really good season as well, and Rashford is going to be the main guy that provides them that good season. So once again, a no-brainer in the zombie team. Then we have Bukayo Saka, another underpriced player this season, priced at 8.5, which is kind of crazy. Could make a case for the other Arsenal midfielders, Ødegaard and Martinelli, who got similar silo points to Saka last season, but Saka is on penalties. He is the most nailed. out of the Arsenal squad, and he's only 21 years old still, which is crazy because it feels like he's played in the league for like 5 seasons now, but he probably hasn't, but it just feels like that because he's been in our lives for such a long time and been such an important player for Arsenal for such a long time as well. But he can still improve quite a lot because he's super young. So yeah, 8.5. Makes all the sense in the world to have him for the whole season. Then we have another Arsenal midfielder, and that is Gabriel Martinelli. I think he is really good value. He should still be nailed, I think. I made this mistake last season and thinking that he's not going to be nailed from the start of the season, and he punished me straight away. And he was a really popular player along the whole season last year and has gotten a price rise to 8.0, but I still think that's a pretty good price because Arsenal are going to be fantastic again this season. They are potential title favorites, as I've written here. They beat Man City just now in the Community Shield. And yeah, sure, City are still the favorites, but Arsenal could very well fight until the very end or potentially even win the league, which I might think could happen. So stay tuned for the table predictions I'm going to do in 2 days from now, where I'm going to predict the table. I might have Arsenal number 1. You'll get to see. Next up, we have James Maddison. Again, looked fantastic in preseason under Ange Postecoglou. He is going to be the talisman for Spurs, and he's on set pieces. He's always a reliable Fantasy Premier League pick, apart from that one game last season where he got suspended when we really needed him. But apart from that, he's someone who always produces a lot throughout the whole season. So especially with Spurs, who are a better team, a better attacking team than Leicester, he's going to get more points. And for 7.5, that's a really good deal for Maddison throughout the whole season. Next up, the 5th midfielder option. This was sort of between 2 6.5 midfielders. My 2 favorite 6.5 midfielders across the season, which is different to my favorite 6.5 midfielders from the start of the season. Because at the start of the season, I'm most likely going to have Brian Mbeumo, because obviously there's no Tony, and Mbeumo thrives when Tony doesn't play really, at least in FPL. But for the whole season, I think Moussa Diaby is going to be the best midfielder, slightly ahead of Eberechi Eze. I have them like 1A, 1B sort of thing, but I went with the new guy, Diaby, because I think he has, I don't know, both of those guys, Eze and Diaby, have fantastic potential. But yeah, Diaby is too talented for Aston Villa, even if Aston Villa improved, like I expect him to do. And he's just amazing, Diaby. He's really quick. He might even play as sort of like a striker role next to Watkins. I know Emery is really fluid when it comes to tactics. Sometimes he played with Bailey as sort of like a second sort of striker next to Watkins. I think Diaby for 6.5 is too good value to pass up, really. And yeah, he is a great player, and you'll all get to see as the season moves along that both him and Aston Villa are going to be fantastic this season. So all the faith in the world in Diaby, especially for that price. I think he is 0.5 underpriced personally. Then we have up front, no real reason to speak that much about him because it's Haaland. He is in every single squad. And especially for the zombie team where we're actually going to captain the same player the whole season, you can't change captain at all. You got to go with the person that you think will get the most points in FPL this season, and that is Haaland for me. I think he is still I'm 100% sure he's going to be among the top 5 point scorers this season, and he has the best chance of being the number 1 point scorer this season as well. But there is that injury problem, but we have a fail-safe for that, and that is the next guy, Julian Alvarez. He is the first guy off the bench. If Haaland gets injured, we have him as insurance. I think also Alvarez is going to play more than people expect this season. He has played a lot in preseason. I think he is a good candidate for Game Week 1, even in your team, potentially in Man City's team. You should pay attention to team leaks. You should have a plan in case you get team leaks like 15 minutes before deadline, so you don't have to scramble and make changes that you didn't plan already. So I think you should have a contingency plan for getting Alvarez into your Game Week 1 squad. But for the zombie squad, obviously, with Haaland as the main striker, you need Alvarez on the bench in case Haaland gets injured, because Haaland has had some injury issues in the past. But if he is injured, there's no problem. You get Alvarez in every single game rather than every other game that he's going to play in towards the end of the season. So Alvarez going to get more and more starts as the season goes along for City, I think, as well. So he's going to be really good towards the end of the season as that first bench option. When you get blank game weeks, you get some injured players, you get some rotation players. So yeah, he's going to get explosive point returns when you need him to, I think, in that late stage of the season. And finally, the third forward is Joao Pedro. He is Mac 10 or Alexis McAllister's spiritual successor in terms of FPL. He is 5.5, which is the same price, I think, as McAllister last season. Maybe McAllister was 5.0, I can't remember, but I think he was 5.5. because João Pedro is on penalties. It seems like he took a penalty with Gross and Welbeck on the pitch, so he seems like the preferred penalty taker for Brighton. He is also their new star signing until they get Mohamed Kudus, who might hamper João Pedro's appeal, but I still think João Pedro will get a lot of game time this season. There's no certainty that Ferguson is going to be a starting striker for Brighton. I know he's a fantastic talent, but last season as well, he had only like 9 or 10 starts. So I think João Pedro could play some matches up front. He's going to play mostly in that number 10 role, but he can also play on both wings. So I think minutes won't be that big of an issue for João Pedro throughout the season. And like I said previously with Estepinian, Brighton could be one of the best attacks in the league. We know De Zerbi and his offensive football is fantastic to watch, and João Pedro could reap the benefits for that at only 5.5. He's 1 million less than Mitoma. So yeah. He's also great value, and that's why I think he should be in your zombie team and potentially also in your Game Week 1 team. So this is the full zombie squad, 4-5-1 formation. Like I said, we have the strikers as substitutes because I think there are so many good value defenders and midfielders this season. So I had to fill up the whole team with defenders and midfielders. So just for anyone, if you're listening to this rather than watching, I have, and you, if you've been watching or if you've been listening, you also know the team, but I'll just run through the team once again. Onana in goal for 5.0. We have Chilwell in defense, 5.5. Guardiola, who costs 5.0. Gabriel costs 5.0. And Estepinian, who costs 5.0 in defense. In midfield, we have Rashford, only costs 9.0 this season. Saka, 8.5. Martinelli costs 8.0. Madison, who costs 7.5, and Diaby, who costs 6.5. And up front, we have the captain, which is Haaland, costs 14 million, but it's no big deal because he's going to be the auto captain. He's going to be captain the whole season. If Haaland doesn't play, we get Alvarez off the bench for 6.5 as the first bench option. Obviously, actually, I haven't changed the backup goalkeeper. This should be Johnston rather than Turner. So the graphic says Turner, but it is Johnston as the backup goalkeeper. But yeah, Alvarez first bench. Second bench is João Pedro for 5.5. And then finally, Destiny Udogie for 4.5. And Destiny Udogie as the third bench option is kind of an embarrassment of riches because he is a fantastic player and he could potentially be a starter for the zombie squad if you are making one. So yeah, just in case 2 or more players in the starting lineup and Haaland and Pedro are not playing, we get Udogie to get some points. And that does happen every season that you get the third bench guy in, especially in blank game weeks and stuff. You need all the players you can get, really. So having Udogie as a final bench option is fantastic. So that is the whole team. As you can see, free transfers are forbidden. No free transfers throughout the season. This is the team you should stick with. This is the team I'm not going to select personally in my own team, but I'm going to keep track of it and look every single week how many points this team has gotten and compare it to myself and the world number 1 and see how it does end up doing towards the end of the season as well. So yeah, stay tuned for that series on this channel. There's going to be a lot of other weekly content as well as the season goes along. I'll actually do like a little short thing explaining what I have in store for you guys this season. I'm going to try to do at least 4 videos per week. So if you're into that sort of stuff, if you find this informative, if you like the graphics, if you like me, if you like anything about this channel, please subscribe because yeah, we're about 400 subscribers and I'm going to try to reach 10,000 subscribers before the start of next season. So yeah, that is my goal at least. I'm going to keep track of that as well. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I'll see you next time and goodbye.